7:05 hours North Pacific airspace. The early morning sky over the northern Pacific was cold and clear. High above the clouds, a long-range American bomber cruised steadily along an international patrol route. The mission was routine. A strategic presence flight designed to demonstrate readiness and reassure allies across the Pacific region. Inside the cockpit, everything seemed normal. Navigation system steady, communication stable, no immediate threats on radar. But hundreds of miles away, something had already been detected. Ground-based radar stations belonging to the Russian aerospace forces had picked up the bomber's signature as it approached airspace near Russia's far eastern territory. Within minutes, fighter crews were ordered to scramble. Scramble order. At a remote airbase in Russia's Far East, alarms echoed across the runway. Two advanced stealth fighters taxied rapidly into position. Their mission was simple: identify the approaching aircraft, shadow it, ensure it did not violate national airspace. Su-57, known in NATO, reporting names as the felon. Their destination was already locked into navigation systems. The approaching American bomber radar contact inside the American bomber identified by analysts as a B-52 Stratofortress. Radar operators suddenly noticed new contacts appearing at the edge of their detection range. Two fast-moving aircraft closing rapidly. The crew had expected this possibility. Strategic patrols near contested regions often triggered fighter intercepts. Still, the speed of the approaching aircraft suggested something unusual. These were not older interceptors. They were fast, very fast. Visual identification. Within minutes, the Russian fighters closed the distance. One Su-57 moved slightly ahead of the bomber's left wing. The second remained higher, watching from above. Through cockpit glass, the American crew could clearly see the stealth fighter's sharp angular design and internal weapons bays. The intercept was professional. No aggressive maneuvers, no weapons deployed, just a silent message. You're being watched. Escort formation. For the next several minutes, the fighters maintained a steady formation beside the bomber. The American aircraft continued flying its planned route through international airspace. Both sides followed strict protocols designed to prevent accidents or miscalculation. Still, tensions were undeniable. Strategic bombers were not ordinary aircraft. They were symbols of nuclear deterrence. And when advanced stealth fighters intercepted one, the entire world paid attention. A sudden maneuver. Without warning, one of the Su-57 fighters accelerated forward, crossing in front of the bomber's flight path before banking sharply away. Inside the American aircraft, alarms briefly sounded as proximity warnings activated. The maneuver was close, closer than expected. Pilots steadied the aircraft as the second fighter tightened its orbit. For a moment, the calm professionalism of the intercept seemed to vanish. Rising concern. Command centers on both sides began monitoring the encounter more closely. Live satellite feeds tracked the aircraft. Analysts watched every turn, every change in altitude, every signal transmitted across military frequencies. Because when advanced aircraft from rival powers meet in the sky, even a small mistake can trigger a much larger crisis. And at that moment, something unexpected appeared on radar screens. New contact. The bomber's radar operator leaned forward. A third aircraft had entered the area. Its signal was different, faster, and approaching rapidly from high altitude. Within seconds, both Russian fighters also adjusted course toward the new arrival. No one knew yet whether it was friendly, hostile, or something else entirely. But one thing was certain. The situation in the sky had just become far more complicated. The unknown aircraft inside the cockpit of the American bomber. Tension thickened instantly. The radar operator leaned closer to the glowing display. 3 aircraft had now appeared on the tactical screen. 2 were already known. The intercepting stealth fighters belonging to the Russian aerospace forces, flying the Advance, Sukhoi Su-57, but the third contact was different. Its radar signature was small, extremely small, and moving at an unusually high speed. New contact, high altitude, the operator reported calmly. The bomber's pilot glanced at the instruments. Identify. No confirmation yet. Outside the aircraft windows, the sky looked calm and endless. But in the invisible battlefield of radar waves and digital tracking, the situation was rapidly changing. Russian fighters react. The Su-57 pilots had also detected the new contact. From their perspective, the sudden appearance of an unidentified aircraft in the middle of a sensitive intercept mission was deeply concerning. Both fighters changed position. One climbed higher to investigate. The other stayed close to the American bomber. This maneuver served two purposes. First, it allowed one pilot to visually identify the unknown aircraft. Second, it ensured the bomber remained monitored at all times. Intercept missions were delicate, professional, controlled, but the introduction of a third aircraft increased the chance of misunderstanding dramatically. Strategic patrol. The American bomber continued its steady course. Aircraft like the B-52 Stratofortress often conducted long-range patrols across international airspace as part of deterrence missions. These flights were designed to demonstrate capability without provoking direct confrontation. Yet when rival fighters appeared nearby, the mission shifted from routine patrol to delicate diplomacy in the sky. Every movement now carried meaning. A turn, a climb, a speed change. All of it was watched and interpreted by the other side. Identification attempt. The climbing Su-57 pilot activated advanced sensors. The aircraft system scanned the incoming contact using radar and infrared tracking. Within seconds, partial identification appeared on the cockpit display. The object was another aircraft, but not Russian and not the bomber. Its approach path suggested it had been flying from farther out over the Pacific. The pilot reported the data back to command. On the ground, analysts began evaluating the situation. Multiple possibilities ran through their minds. A reconnaissance aircraft, a patrol jet, or something else entirely. The distance narrows. The unidentified aircraft continued closing the gap. Now all three aircraft, the bomber and the two intercepting fighters, were aware of its presence. Inside the bomber, the crew monitored the situation closely. The mission commander spoke calmly over internal communications. Maintain course, no aggressive maneuvers. Standard protocol during intercepts was simple. Remain predictable. Avoid sudden movements. Allow the intercepting aircraft to conduct identification. This minimized the risk of misinterpretation. Still, tension remained high because everyone in that airspace understood how quickly routine encounters could spiral into international incidents. The world watches far below the aircraft. Command centers across several countries were tracking the situation in real time. Radar stations in Alaska, monitoring systems across eastern Russia, satellite networks operated by multiple governments. Every system watched a small cluster of aircraft moving across the sky. To outside observers, it looked like a simple intercept, but to military planners, it represented a complex strategic interaction between two nuclear powers. The stakes were enormous, not because of what had happened yet, but because of what might happen next. Visual contact. The Su-57 pilot finally saw the approaching aircraft. A distant silhouette appeared against the bright horizon. Through the cockpit display, sensors confirmed the identification. It was another American aircraft, a surveillance platform supporting the bomber mission from a distance. The fighter pilot reported the information immediately. Ground command acknowledged the mystery contact was no longer unknown, but the situation was still sensitive. Now, 2 American aircraft were present in the area, and 2 Russian fighters continued the intercept. Close formation. One of the Su-57 fighters moved closer to the bomber once again. Maintaining a careful distance, the pilot positioned the aircraft where both sides could clearly see each other. Such positioning served a symbolic purpose. It demonstrated control of the intercept, but it also reassured the other side that no sudden attack was coming. Inside the bomber, the crew observed the fighter carefully. The Su-57's unique stealth design was unmistakable. Sharp lines, angular wings, internal weapons bays hidden within the fuselage. This aircraft represented the newest generation of air combat technology. And now it was flying just a short distance away. A moment of tension. For several minutes, the aircraft continued flying together. No sudden maneuvers, no aggressive turns, but the proximity was still nerve-wracking. Even experienced pilots understood the danger of such encounters. At high speeds, even a small mistake could cause a collision. And a collision between military aircraft from rival nations would have enormous consequences. The pilots remained focused, hands steady on controls, eyes constantly scanning instruments and surroundings. Communication channels. Military aircraft from different nations rarely communicate directly during intercepts. Instead, they rely on visual signals and predictable flight patterns, but sometimes emergency frequencies are monitored.